So hey there guys, welcome back. I'm going to be showing you how to make your block actually generate in the world. What you're going to do is you're going to go and open up BaseMod. Remember I said there are lots of useful little things through here that we would eventually wind up using. And what you're going to do is you're just going to grab this function right here called generate surface. And just throw that right here, right under the constructor. I'm going to move this up this way because that's how, that's how my formatting is. That's how I do things. If you do things differently, then feel free. As you can see in Generate Surface, it gives you a world, a random, an INTI, and an INTJ. I is your X coordinates of the chunk that it's generating, and J is your Z coordinate. Now you may get a red underline under random whenever you paste this in. For me it automatically throws this up here, but if not, all you have to do is hover over random with the red underline and hit import random. And it'll throw that up there at the top and you'll be all good to go. Before we start though, I am just going to rename random to rand because I always name my random variables rand and I'll probably just start typing and it'll just completely screw me up. So just kind of a preemptive renaming. So the first thing we're going to do in here is make a for loop. For loops are something we haven't gone over before, and pretty much all you do is you type for. And for loops are broken up into three sections. The first section is initialization, meaning you can create new variables here. In this case, I'll create an integer. I'll just call it counter, and I'll initialize it to 0. Semicolons end the first part. The second part of a for loop is the condition, meaning continue looping until this is no longer true. So I'm going to do counter is less than 15, which means that as long as counter, which we just declared over here, is less than 15, then the loop will continue to loop. Throw in another semicolon there, and then counter plus plus. This will increment counter at the end of every loop, so after 15 loops, the counter's value should be 15 and the loop should stop. So now you just throw out some curly brackets there. And now it's time to use our x and y coordinates over there. So you just make an integer, x equals I, integer z equals j, and in the middle here, just go ahead and throw in an integer y. The reason that we're doing this is not just for convenience sake, we're not just renaming them. We're going to be using this random variable here to spawn our veins of, say, tin or copper ore. So x equals I plus rand dot next integer. Now what we're going to do is whatever number you put in here is going to be its maximum vein size. Meaning if you want it to have massive veins, you can set this all the way up to 16, which is the size of a single chunk. But I'm going to size it a little more conservatively, put it maybe at like 4 or so. I'm going to give the same value to z so we don't get strange, oblong looking veins, though at the same time maybe that'd be kind of cool looking. So rand.next int 4, and if only I could remember to capitalize, there would be no red line there. And then y is just a little bit different. Y being your height coordinate, of course, it controls how high your ore will spawn. Like diamond has a very low spawn point, as we all know, and something like, say, iron has a very high spawning point. So in this case, I want copper and tin to be very common, so I'm going to put this at 60. 60 is 5 blocks below the water level, which means the lowest point that water will spawn, or the highest point that it will spawn. Something like that. I can't remember for some reason. Anyway, yeah, it's just 5 blocks below sea level, pretty much. So, well, I don't know what I'm doing there. That should be rand.nextInt60. If you did just exactly 60, that would mean that every block of tin or copper ore would spawn at exactly 60, rather than anywhere from 60 down. Which, at the same time, might actually be pretty cool, you know, depending on what you're making. Maybe you could do, like, sort of a semi-bedrock almost. But, anyway, for ores, you know, you do want the next INT. So that'll spawn anywhere 60 and below. After that, you'll want to come down here and do new world gen mineable. This world gen controls what spawns in stone, you know, basically whatever's below you in the ground. And open close parentheses. And if you were to highlight world gen mineable and open its declaration, don't really know what the problem is there. And anyway, we can just find it down here. World gen mineable. Oh, I misspelled it. I'm elite speller. Okay, so now if you were to highlight it with proper spelling and hit open declaration, you'd see that it requires 2 integers, I and j. I is the mineable block ID, and j is the number of blocks. Now, I've always assumed, and it kind of looks like it if you can try and decipher this code down through here that's really complicated, that j, number of blocks, is the maximum number of blocks that can be in that chunk. You know, whatever block you pass this anyway. So if I only ever wanted 5, 10, or to be in one chunk at one time, at least the spawn in that chunk, then I could just set number of blocks to 5. Mineable block ID is, of course, pretty self-explanatory. So, we go world gen mineable, pass it our block 10 ore dot block ID, and then maximum number we want to spawn in one chunk, let's set it, how about 15? I don't think that's too low. Maybe set it to 20, since we want this to be fairly common. Okay, and then we do dot generate, and it'll just take our world, our random, and our location information. This is where our x, y, and z come in. Don't just pass it I, j, and k. Pass it x, y, and z. And there you go. Now, let's test it and see if it actually works. How many errors do you think I'll get? Come on, take bets. I know you want to. It might be just a little bit laggy because I'm recording at the same time, but it shouldn't impact it too much. Oh, no errors so far. Oh, crashed. Let's see what happened. Oh, yep, really laggy, okay. I'm not real sure what this means, but it looks like we've got a block ID error, maybe? Yeah, array index out of bounds, 500. 500 is what we set our block ID to be. So let's, let's knock this down to maybe 200. Let's see if that'll work. No. Image not found. Well, I think that's where it's supposed to be. Alright, well, let me look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure I put it in the right place. I'll be right back. No, okay. I did a complete noob mistake. You see, /terrain.ping and then 10or.ping. If you don't already know by now, my mistake was that simple. Alright, let's try and run it one more time. No errors, no errors, no errors. Stop. Hey, look at that. Alright, so now we go single player. We'll create a new world. Let's put it on creative. And create. Hey guys, I just wanted to show this to you. I spawned a new world. And I started just blasting down right under spawn and creative with some dynamite. And I did find our 10 ore spawning in the world. So I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, the spawning code does work. This is an example of how big the veins would be if you put 4x4 in that spawning. So you can see that it's 4x4, even though it doesn't sound like much, is a pretty big vein. You know, if you found this much iron, you'd be pretty happy. Now imagine if you found a vein of diamond like this, you know. Here's another smaller vein over here in the corner. That's iron, not copper. I was looking for copper, but I never did see any yet. Anyway, if you've got any, comment suggestions, errors, anything of that sort, go ahead and post them in the YouTube comments, and I'll do my best to see if I can help you out in any way or anything like that. Suggestions especially, if there's something you want to see me do, just go ahead and throw it in the comments, and I'll see if I can work it into the next video. So, that's pretty much it. I guess I'll just see you guys in the next tutorial.